Hello, my name is David Marr, and today we are going over an important part of media literacy, which is finding credible news. First, the goals of this is that we will learn the reasons that people put false or misleading information on the internet. We will learn how to tell the difference between fake news and credible news, and we will practice those skills of recognizing credible news as opposed to fake news. Some key vocabulary we will go over throughout the lesson is bias, corroboration, credible, and evaluate. We will go over them as they come up. So, the whole point of the lesson. How do we find credible information on the internet? Well, to answer that, the first thing we have to answer is, what does credible mean? Credible is something is credible if you can believe it or if it's trustworthy. So, why might information you find on the internet not be credible? Well, they could be an editorial or satire or hoaxes, and we'll go over each of these in turn as some examples. Editorials are opinion pieces. They are only what the author of that editorial believes, thinks, or that's it. It doesn't have to be based on fact to be printed. For that reason, there is the possibility of bias, which we will go over shortly, or they could, by leaving out information or skewing information. Satire are websites or articles that are making fun of other things. Examples are The Onion, which makes fun of most online news sources, or things such as Saturday Night Live, which makes fun of all news. And the final one we'll look at are hoaxes, which are articles or news of some sort that is trying to trick you. Either they are giving you false information that looks real, or, I mean, it's generally what it is. They're trying to give you false information to make it look as real as possible so that you believe them instead of someone else. So the next part is, how do you tell the difference between these? And I have from commonsense.org, which right here, a good checklist of how to go through it. The first thing is, we're going to use this to evaluate the credibility. We already went over credibility, so now we're going to look at evaluate. That is to look at something carefully to see if it's worth anything or what it is worth. Well, the next part is, so read closely, see if is it believable, identify the main idea. The next part is to analyze the source. Is it a credible and unbiased source? Well, to answer that, we have to look at what bias is first. Bias is having a preference for one thing over another in a way that's unfair. I prefer chocolate ice cream over any other, so if I wrote an article about what's the best ice cream, I would have a bias towards chocolate. Let's go to the next part, which is look for corroboration. So, what do you think corroboration means when it says after that? Do other credible sources say the same thing? Well, we'll look. Corroboration is you have additional sources that either confirm it or support it. So, if I say that something, if I look up a news source and it says that they're trying to change the voting age to 12, well, does that seem credible? I don't know. Let me go look at another site. Can I find this on another site or not? If I can't, then there is no corroboration. Guidelines for credibility. First, we'll look at what fake news is. Fake news generally has very surprising information. It doesn't seem believable. For instance, 10-year-olds are now allowed to run for president. That doesn't seem believable. Another option is that the website is biased, such as if I wrote an article, a website that was only about ice cream and only about chocolate ice cream, then you know that it would be biased. Authors' bios, you look at those. If someone has only ever written about how awesome chocolate is, then they have a clear bias towards chocolate. And then the key points not being on any other sites. That wraps up the first part of this. I will see you shortly for the second part.